Hey, what's up everybody? Michael from RogueDeckBuilder.com here, doing the second part to my video series on how to set up Cockatrice and get started playing. So, if you guys want to figure things out for yourself, feel free. If not, I would definitely keep watching because I'll give you guys just sort of a streamlined version of what you should be doing when you're actually playing the game and how to set things up and how to build your deck and all that fun stuff. So, let's get on right into it. So, of course, the first thing you need to do, build a deck. Can't start playing Magic without a deck. So, on the left side, it'll automatically, well, actually, first of all, you need to log in, so make sure to save all your information and things like that. So, after you're done logging in, click back to the deck tab, and on the left side, you'll see all the cards you have imported. You can do things by themselves, meaning that, for example, if I want to add some abominations to my deck, on the right side you will see them appear in the main deck or in the sideboard if you click the other option. You can type your deck name for how you want to save it as well as any comments to keep track of what exactly the deck does or any other notes you want to have in the comment section for the deck. So you can do things that way. You can search through your cards manually as well. So, for example, if I want to look for Desecration Demon, I can start typing it. It searches things in real time, which is a very nice feature. So once I find Desecration Demon, I can add a bajillion of those to my main deck because, legal. I'm legal that way. And so after you're done doing that, you can save your deck, yada yada yada. Save as, Control S, whatever works the best. But there is an easier way to do all this because this takes a long time, it's very clunky, and shortcuts are always the best. So if you're like me who has an account on a website, a deck building website such as tappedout.net, or if you have any deck lists that you have saved in text form, whether it's on like Notepad or Word, then you can go to that, copy it, and then you can just load everything from your clipboard. So you'll go to your deck editor drop-down menu and you'll click load deck from clipboard. So anything you've copied, it'll appear in there, and you can just pretty much copy and paste your whole deck in one go. So how that looks is you'll go to your deck lists. For example, I use tappedout.net. We'll get my mono green deck that I've been working on. So you're going to want to go to your deck list, copy the whole main board, and just hit Control C, copy it. Or you can right-click, copy, whatever works. After you're done that, you're going to want to go back to your Cockatrice program, go to your deck editor drop-down menu, go to load deck from clipboard, and then it'll appear like this. Now, you actually can't save it right away. You're going to actually need to get rid of all the X's because it won't allow you to import the deck with those X's there. So make sure you get rid of those, and you should be ready to go. So it should look like this. And then all I have to do is hit OK. Boom. Right side, everything's ready to go. For the sideboard, you actually have to do that one manually. So searching for cards, it's still very, very easy. And at least this way is a very nice shortcut. So then you just have to add cards to your sideboard. Very, very straightforward. Not much to say there. After you're done, of course, save it. You can save it however you want to. I won't bother saving this because I'm not going to bother playing it right now. And then you're ready to go. That's all you need to do is to set up a deck and you're ready to start playing. So after you're done that, you want to head to the chat room. If before you even start playing, you can actually go to the settings and you can customize your program a little bit. The main one I would do is go to is user interface. And I would uncheck double-click cards to play them. I think single-clicking is a lot easier and it's less of a hassle. There's some other things you can do as well. Play all non-lands on the stack by default is something that's unchecked, I think, when you first start. I actually like checking it because it gives your opponent a chance to respond to things, and it saves a lot of hassle. When you play something right away and your opponent, 5 seconds later, says, "Oh, I wanted to respond to that," but you've already played it. This will save you some hassle. Tap animations, I would uncheck those. They're really clunky and messy. You can also enable sounds. The default sounds are very annoying. There are sounds you can actually import that people have made, or you can make your own sounds and replace them in the proper folder here if you would like, but I would just recommend unchecking them. I personally just like listening to music or something anyways while I play. So after you're done setting up your program, you're ready to play. I wouldn't jump into the game just yet. I would, of course, this video will help you go through the different steps on how to get going, because it's a very clunky program. And again, like I said many times before, this is you have to do everything manually. So I will show you guys to do that. I would just create your own game. Click create. Go to one player only. Don't allow spectators, and just pick standard or something, whatever format you want to practice in. Click OK, and then this will be, whether you're joining a game or creating a game, this will be the window that will always be open first. On the right side, you'll see the player list, who's in the room, as well as a match timer, as well as the status window. So this status window will keep track of everything going on in the game, so definitely refer back to this window in the bottom right. Whether it's chat or anything going on in the game, it will appear in that window. So make sure you keep track of that as you're playing along. So the first thing you do is load up a deck. When you first save your deck, it'll automatically load to your local storage. So click load local deck. I would definitely recommend, though, going to your deck storage tab and saving it over to the server, just in case something goes wrong and you have backups. But you just double click whatever deck you want to play. Bada boom, bada bing, you're ready to play. It'll show you all the things, so you can go over it to make sure everything's proper. It'll show you your sideboard count and your main board count. It allows you to move things once you've unlocked your sideboard, so you can actually move things in between games if you actually play multiple games with an opponent. Then you can lock it to show that you're ready to start playing again. On the right, you can see the red X there that shows a person is not ready to start playing. Once the check mark appears there on your opponent, you can click ready to start. Since I'm the only person in this room, it'll automatically start the game when I click ready to start. So this is your battlefield, I guess you could say. It's not going to look exactly like this. It's going to be actually half the size of this, because your opponent's side of the board will appear on the top. It'll have his information as well, such as the card count in his deck, his hand, his graveyard, and his exile pile. These are mana counters. Pretty much no one uses these. They're pretty much only for your own ability to keep track. If you're playing like Mono Green Devotion, for example, where you produce a bajillion amounts of mana, it helps in keeping track of how much you actually have floating in your pool. But generally, from basic gameplay, you're not going to need to use these. So this is where things start getting a little bit messy. Everything is done manually, so I would definitely recommend keep memorizing all the shortcuts that are going to be appearing, as well as when you experiment yourself. And that's one thing, is just experiment yourself, create your own game, and just goldfish your deck and figure things out that way. That's how I learned it's the easiest way to memorize all the different hotkeys and things like that. And you're going to be wanting to memorize those hotkeys, because right-clicking and going through everything like that is a lot clunkier than it needs to be. So, as usual, the first thing you need to do is to roll to see who goes first. Just right-click, or you can hit Control-I, and then you just click Roll Die. It'll automatically default to the D20, and that's the one that everyone uses. You're going to hit OK. In the bottom right, you'll see what your opponent rolled as well as what you rolled. So make sure you keep, again, as you can see, all the different stats that are going on in the game. You're going to want to keep track of that in this bottom right window to make sure no one's cheating or anything like that as well. After you've figured out who's going first, you're going to want to draw your hand. So, well, first shuffle, of course. Hotkey for that is Control S, or if you need to, you can right-click and shuffle. You're going to want to do that multiple times. As in the bottom right, again, you can see everything that's going on in the game, and you're going to shuffle multiple times. Throughout this video, I'm going to be doing everything with the right-click to show you guys just how to do things with your mouse. But I recommend seeing what the hotkey is for that and memorizing all the important ones. So shuffling, drawing, going through phases, and things like that. So definitely memorize these as you go along. So after you're done shuffling, you're going to want to draw your hand. So you're going to right-click, or you can hit draw, or Control-E. Draw your cards. You're going to hit 7 to draw 7. This is not a great starting hand for me, but if I was on the draw, I would keep this. So you'd let your opponent know. Again, you have to be very communicative with your opponent, unlike MTGO, since everything's done manually. So you can just let your opponent know you're keeping. He'll do the same. A lot of people, there are a lot of acronyms that people use, so or shortcuts that people use. So they might just say KP for keep. Again, if you look online, there's a list that you can search for if you use look for different ways that people say things on Cockatrice. I don't like shortening things. I don't know why. It's just a personal thing. So I usually just type things out fully. I'm a fast typer though, so it's not much of a problem for me. So if you actually need to mulligan, you can right click or you can hit Control M, take mulligan, you'll drop down, and then you're ready to play once everyone has kept their hands. So the first thing you need to do is on the left you can see all the different phases. Again, since everything's done manually, you, unlike MTGO, you don't have to go through every single phase. People do take a lot of shortcuts. So for example, in the first play, obviously no one is going to have a counter to be able to respond to things. You're not going to have to untap anything. So you don't have to worry about that. But you can click like any of these phases and it'll automatically skip to them. This is really just to show you your opponent what phase you're on. So always make sure that you're going to this, and then on the right you can always see what phase is actually skipping to. So I personally enjoy going through all the phases pretty straightforward, like in a real game. And just because it makes things a lot easier for you and your opponent, just in case your opponent wanted to play an instant or something like that on a certain end step of a phase. So, for example, Control Space is the main one you're going to be using. Control Space skips through the phase one by one. It's the easiest way to do things, but again, of course, you can always just click them if you want to do things that way. So untap, nothing happens. Upkeep, of course I have nothing in play to trigger anything, so that doesn't happen. So like for these first starting ones, it's perfectly fine to just go from untap and then just draw and then main. One thing to consider is if you are preparing to do something on your opponent's turn, like for example play something on their upkeep or their draw step, always make sure to let them know in the chat window before that actually happens. You always want to be ahead of things to ensure that your opponent doesn't get mad that you notified them too late or something like that. So on the draw, you can actually just click the draw and it'll draw you a card. Again, shortcuts and hotkeys are the way to go. So Control D is the way to draw your cards, or you can right click your deck and hit draw card. It'll draw you your card. Click on the main phase to notify you're on the first main phase. And then, depending on what you had in your options window, you have to double click what card you want to play, or you can just click it like I do. Click it. It'll always show you what cards, again, in the status menu that are being played and where they're being played from. So this is how you can really determine if people are cheating or not, is seeing where they play the cards from and things like that. So always make sure again, I can't stress that enough. Always keep track of this status window because it's very, very important. But again, like I said, there aren't any ways to, it's not MTGO. It doesn't show triggers automatically. So this is where you have to sort of know how triggers work. So it's like you're playing live. You don't have to notify every single trigger, like scry triggers and things like that. But if you are going to be responding to triggers, make sure you notify your opponent in the chat window. So like I played a scryland, I'm obviously going to be scrying. So to do any scrying, right click your deck. You can do view cards, view top cards of library. You're going to click that. You're going to click 1 because you only get a scry 1, of course. It'll open up this window. I have a Temple of Plenty on the top of my library. I don't think I want that. I want to look for a black source, so I will right click it, and then it allows you to move it to either the bottom of the library or the top of the library. Move it to the bottom because I don't want it. Then you're going to want to X the window, and you're ready to pass the turn. So again, you don't have, since this shortcuts, it's this one thing I do enjoy about this over the MTGO. You don't have to go through all the steps by themselves like you have to do on MTGO. I guess on MTGO you have ways to skip as well, through F4 and things like that. But you'll always want to, every single time you end your turn, leave it on the end of turn step. Don't pass the turn to your opponent. Your opponent is the one that is going to be passing the turn. Can't stress that enough. It was quite awkward to do at first, but you leave it on your end step to give your opponent time to play anything they want to at the end of your turn, as well as it just helps to move things along. It just for ease of use sake, pretty much. So after you're done your turn, make sure you're done everything you need to. Click the end phase, and then just wait. Your opponent will either play things or they'll pass the turn onto themselves. So, for example, let's say it's my opponent's turn. He's gone through everything. He's ended his turn. And when your opponent's clicking on these, you're going to be able to see what phase they're on. So make sure to keep watch of that. So they've done their turn. They've left it on their end step. I don't have anything to play, so I'm going to pass it to my turn. So all I have to do is click pass, or, of course, hotkeys. You could hit Control Enter. It'll pass, so then in the bottom right, you can see it's my turn now. So untap, you're going to want to hit Control U to untap everything. Or, of course, you can right-click and then untap all permanents. Then you want to go to Upkeep. I have nothing to trigger. Draw my card. And then the first main phase. So no black source. I have nothing else to do. All I can do is play another Scryland. So play it again. Same process as before. Scry, and if you've entered Scry before, it'll actually say that information here. So I don't have to put one card. Temple Garden. I don't really want that, even if it's a land. So I'll move it to the bottom. I need a black source, and then I am done. There's nothing else I can play. Click my end phase, wait for my opponent to pass the turn. He's going to pass his turn by clicking the pass button. He's going to go through all of his steps and leave things on his end step. I have nothing to play as before, so I hit Control Enter or click the pass button to pass to my turn. Same process, yada yada yada. Go through all the same things as before. So, I mean, again, the shortcuts you can take. For example, I have no upkeep triggers or anything like that, so I can skip right to my draw step. I always like notifying what phase I'm on. I encounter a lot of opponents who just sort of play things pretty fast, and they don't always keep track of what phase they're on. More often than not, I don't have anything to respond to. I don't have to play anything, but still, it keeps things a lot cleaner, and it keeps things a lot more organized, which is, I think, very important in this. So make sure you always notify what phase you're actually on. So that is that. I mean, they have mana counters as well. No one I found has used these yet. It shows how much mana is in your mana pool. I would only recommend it if you're playing like devotion decks where you're producing just mass amounts of mana. It helps you keep track of that in here. This window right here is your graveyard pile. So whenever you move a spell to the graveyard, for example, like let's say my Temple of Plenty was a black source. It's not, obviously, but let's say it's a swamp. I want to play my Thoughtseize, so I just click it to tap it. Again, you can see everything going on in the bottom right, what's being tapped and what's being untapped. Play my Thoughtseize. This left side is this red area of the game is the stack. So everything you play should appear here first. Now, it's a little bit different. For example, if I go to my settings and I go to user interface, if I click, if I uncheck play all non-lands onto the stack, it'll actually play things directly. Whoops, I have to restart the thing for it to take effect. But it'll actually play things right onto. It'll play things without putting them onto the stack. I personally think it's the best to actually not do things that way, and make sure you have this checked. It just gives your opponent. It's just much easier giving your opponent the option to respond to things as well as play things on top of the stack. It's easier to keep track of things like that. So after you click things, you can just wait. Again, your opponent has priority at this point, so they usually just say okay, and then that gives you the go-to to actually throw it in the graveyard and resolve it. Again, like I said, everything's done manually, so dragging things, you can actually drag things anywhere you want, whether it's back onto top of your library, off top of your library, back into your hand. So that's what I mean by it's a very clunky program, and you actually need to do things manually and be very communicative with your opponent, as well as keep track of all the things going on in the stat menu. So Thoughtseize my opponent, make them discard a hand, make them discard things, but remember, Thoughtseize makes me lose 2 life, so anything life total you can actually click on your life total. Right click is to go down, clicking is to go up. Again, you can see all the changes in the bottom right. Make sure you're keeping track of that as well. I've had some opponents who have misclicked a couple of times and added an extra life or taken off an extra life when they normally wouldn't need to. So you can always notify them in the chat window. So that's the main thing. That's just the general how-to of playing the game. So some extra things. One major thing that I think you're going to be needing to go to is targeting. Targeting is going to be something that's very important. For example, Banishing Light. So let's say I have 3 mana out. I tap my mana, and I play my Banishing Light. It's on the stack, but again, you have to clarify what you're targeting. So let's say my opponent has a Nyx Fleece Ram on the field. I'm going to right-click Banishing Light and then draw arrow. It allows me to draw an arrow, and my opponent can see this. So now he knows I'm targeting the Nyx Fleece Ram. He'll just give me a thumbs up or an OK in the chat menu, letting me know that he has nothing to respond to, no counters or anything like that, and that the spell will resolve. So once I put it into play, the arrow will disappear. So again, you can move things around, organize things the way you want to, and now your opponent can do things a couple of different ways. Since Banishing Light does exile the card, you can move it. Your opponent might move it to the exile pile. I think it's easier just to attach, for Banishing Light or Detention Sphere, for example. It's easier just to attach the cards. So you can always right-click Banishing Light, attach to card, and then it'll pretty much just connect them. So that's pretty much that. That's all you need to do. That's how you target things, attach things. I think that's pretty much it. Those are the major things you need to do. And I'm still learning, and a lot of the stuff you're gonna have to learn on just by experiencing it, just because there's so many different things you can do, and it'd take me probably like an hour to actually go through everything with you. I'm still learning as well. So if worse comes to worse and you don't know what to do, ask your opponent. Cockatrice, I found, actually has a very friendly community. And make sure if you're creating a game and you're first starting out, let people know in the title that you're new to Cockatrice, as well as before you start the game, let your opponent know that you're new to the game. It helps them, it helps you, and saves just a lot of headache in the future. And as well as they might just help you go along, and they'll be a little bit more lenient on some of the choices that you have during the game. But again, worst case scenario, you don't know what to do, and you just right-click everything. Right-click will always give you every single option applicable to that card or that area of the game. For example, if I right-click here, it'll give me counters I can apply on cards. It'll allow me to add counters to my permanence. You can unattach cards, yada, yada, yada. Again, right-clicking is the way to go. But for the major things like drawing cards, moving through phases, and things like that, I highly recommend memorizing those hotkeys. So definitely do that. What else? Right-clicking will give you every single option, like creating tokens. You can do that as well. You can actually customize your tokens too, which is pretty sweet after you're out of the game. What else should I cover? I think that's everything major. I mean, again, I'm sure most of you guys know the basic rules of Magic. It's just a matter of figuring out how it works within this program. But yeah, right-clicking, I can't stress that enough. If worst comes to worst, you need to figure out what things are needing to be done. Right-clicking is the way to go on whatever permanent you need to. You can also multi-target permanents, which is actually pretty useful when, for example, in my deck, I have, let's say I have a whole bunch of creatures on the field, and I have like an Archangel of Thune on board. Since there's going to be a lot of times where I'm going to be adding a lot of counters to my permanents, It's very takes a very long time right-clicking each permanent by themselves and setting their power and toughness and increasing it manually. You can actually highlight cards. So if I highlight all my creatures, right-click, go to power and toughness, increase the power and toughness by 1, boom. It's all done very easily. And again, even not only on your opponent's turn, on your turns, make sure you refer back to the status window to ensure that you've done things correctly, as well as your opponent, I'm sure, will let you know if you've done things incorrectly. So, but here you can see just how it's more similar to live Magic, where you have to do things manually, but at the same time you can see where I was coming from with how clunky the program can be and how easy it is to possibly cheat. So that's why you need to be very aware. And again, just play a few games and goldfish your deck quite a bit just by yourself, in a game by yourself, just to get used to the hotkeys and the structure of how to go through phases, and just try and imagine what you would do in playing the game. But again, the one major thing is when you are changing turns, just leave your phase on the end step. Don't pass the turn to your opponent. Your opponent will do that themselves. That, I think, is pretty much all I have to say. That's all you need to do to start playing. A lot of this is going to be coming with experience, just similar to playing Magic by yourself in real life. So expect a lot of clunkiness and a lot of mistakes at the start. But that's all I have to say. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I'm definitely going to be getting some more Cockatrice gameplay videos up for you guys in the future. As well as, again, if you guys have your Cockatrice account set up and you're registered and everything like that, be sure to add me to your buddy list or message me your buddy name and I'll add you, and we'll get a Rogue Deck Builder community group going on Cockatrice and get our own games going and have just sort of a nice solid community to test with. And I think that would actually be pretty sweet. So here's my username if you guys know. If you guys don't know, I actually don't know if you can add buddies and stuff like that to without actually being on Cockatrice. So if you actually do have a Cockatrice account, let me know. Message me either on YouTube, on the Facebook group, or in the comment section below, letting me know you have a Cockatrice account, so I can get just an idea of how many people are actually going to be using this program. And then from there I can maybe get Kevin to put a video on his YouTube channel announcing that I'm going to be starting a Rogue Deck Builder group for Cockatrice, just so we can have our own group to test with, just because having the ability to have people you trust and people you play with regularly on Cockatrice is the best way to go, rather than playing with a lot of strangers and having a lot of problems through that way. As well as in the future I can create a Skype group or a Ventrilo account server, some voice program to allow us to be able to communicate in person, which is a lot easier than typing things out. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you guys would be interested in sort of starting something like that up for Cockatrice, let me know in the comments of the Facebook group or in the YouTube comment section below, and I'll definitely take all that stuff into consideration. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this series. I apologize if this video was too long, but again, I like explaining things very thoroughly, and it's a very complicated program to use. So I hope I helped you guys with just at least smoothing out the generals. A lot of the fine-tuned stuff you're going to have to figure out on yourselves. But if you have any questions or any problems, feel free to message me, and I'll get back to you, and hopefully I can help you guys out. But worst case scenario, you can always ask in the chat menu, and the community is actually quite helpful generally. So or message a mod or something like that. So yeah, until next time, guys, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.